This is the Marriage, Kids, and Money podcast with Andy Hill, session number 22. This show is dedicated to helping you strengthen your family tree and live financially free. Thanks for being here today, everyone. Before we jump into the show today, I wanted to let you all know that I've developed a free guide for members of the Marriage, Kids, and Money community that will help you save $1,000 without leaving the comfort of your home. You just need some internet, your smartphone, and a little willpower. I'm calling it the 3 Steps to 1K Challenge. If you want in on this money-saving guide, please go to marriagekidsandmoney.com/join. That's marriagekidsandmoney.com/join. All right, back to the show. When my daughter Zoe was born, we met with a financial advisor who calculated that for Zoe to attend an in-state college like Michigan State University, where we live, we'd be looking at a price tag of about $200,000 for 4 years. $200,000. Since then, we've been saving in our state-sponsored 529 plan through low-cost index funds. But honestly, we don't feel like there's any way we're going to be able to save that much money by the time she's 18. And quite frankly, Nicole and I want to make sure we're set for our retirement before Zoe and Calvin get a free ride to college. I'm thinking that there are a lot of other parents that are in a similar situation as us right now. For that reason, I invited Jocelyn Paonita on the show this week. Jocelyn is a recent college graduate who was able to attend college completely debt-free based on earning $126,000 in scholarships. She wasn't a star high school athlete or the valedictorian. She was just a hardworking and motivated student that did not want to come out of college with an ounce of debt. Her experience in earning scholarships propelled her to start a company called the Scholarship System, where she guides families and students to earn their own scholarships to clobber the massive college costs that are awaiting them. On the show today, Jocelyn and I talk about her inspiring story, how her scholarship system program works, and she shares some great advice on how parents and students can combat the cost of college together. If you have a child that is bound for college someday, listen to this fun conversation with Jocelyn. It'll make you feel like there's hope that your kids will be able to attend college debt-free after all. Okay, here's my chat with Jocelyn Paonita. Welcome,
Hi.
Jocelyn. How's it going?
Oh, it's going. Thanks for having me on here.
Excellent. Thank you so much for making it today. This is going to be a great conversation. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I founded the Scholarship System, and that has been my full-time focus for the last, year and a half. Oh my God, time flies when you're having fun.
There you go. Very cool.
But I was able to get a free ride through college, went into the corporate world, and then realized that this was a very important need for our country. So I've been fortunate enough to focus on this full time for the last year and a half.
Excellent. Very cool. So tell us a little bit about what the scholarship system is.
Sure. So the scholarship system, it's a 6-step system for families and students to follow to learn how to pay for college without student loan debt. So the goal here is to graduate like I did, completely debt-free. And we primarily focus on scholarships because that's how I did it. So it's a step-by-step system that is now turned into an online product that families can purchase. I liken it to almost like a Kaplan SAT prep course, but instead it's a prep course for scholarships and for paying for college.
Excellent. That sounds like an incredible system, especially as you compared it to what they do with the ACTs and SATs, to prepare people to not have to go into major student loan debt in order to get through school. Sometimes that's foreign for people to hear that it's possible through hard work and dedication. But so you said that you had a free ride through school. So what inspired you to start this company? Was it your personal experience?
So it was actually kind of accidental, which I feel like is the best way that things start. Like I mentioned, I I actually secured over $126,000 in scholarships, but it wasn't from one big scholarship like the Coca-Cola. I only got $2,000 a year from my university. So really my dollar amount, I was just like any other average student. And my dollar amount was the result of me getting a bunch of smaller ones that added up to this free ride. And when I graduated from college, I was a financial analyst. I had a bunch of friends that were still in school saying, Jocelyn, how did you do this? They were contacting me and I was giving them the steps. And I realized, oh my goodness, I sound like a broken record. I'm giving them a system because obviously it's the same steps over and over that I'm telling them and it's working for them. And so when I realized it was a system, that's when I decided to package it up. And then I realized, students, children, they don't want to be sitting here reading books and, they want videos, tutorials, they want worksheets that walk them through so that the end result gets them where they need to be without feeling just overwhelmed. And so that was when I decided to turn it into an online course for families to go through. So it was really accidental how it started, but what inspired me was I was seeing, first off in my family, I saw just the consequence of debt in general. But secondly, after graduating, I saw that my friends couldn't do the things that I was doing because of their student loans. I graduated debt free. I was able to pay off my car. I was able to buy a property. I was able to travel. They could not do any of that because all of their disposable income was going to these loan payments. And so, between accidentally stumbling upon this need, but also personally seeing the impacts of the alternative, is what really inspired me to do this.
So you graduated school with no debt, and it enabled you to buy your own house immediately. It sounds like you got it right out of college. Is that right?
Yeah, we closed on it, I think, within 2 months of me graduating.
Excellent. That's great. Excellent. So you started to dive into a little bit of what the system provides. You were saying videos and resources. Could you talk about the specific support that is provided through the scholarship system?
Sure. So we've evolved as I started it. At first, I thought it was something that would be live, but I realized that to get families to be able to show up, they are just so busy. That's difficult. And so really the support that they receive, they get videos that equate to under 10 hours of content. And they're broken into bite-sized pieces. And then they have worksheets and cheat sheets, templates such as thank you letter templates, recommendation letters. We give them templates for even a scholarship resume. So a lot of pre-created things that they can fill in so that it saves them time. But then in addition to that, we also offer essay reviews as an a la carte thing if they wanted to. We have a private Facebook group for members only, and that has become such a powerful think tank. So that's actually one of my favorite things where we, for example, just the other day, we threw out, hey, what essays are you writing on? And are you writing right now? And we started brainstorming what they could possibly talk about. So it's largely a self-paced course with a bunch of resources and tools to help them through the system. So it does take a bit of time of an investment beforehand, but in the long run, those tools are going to save them way more time than if they were to do it on their own. But most importantly, it's also providing a proven process to go through this rather than just getting overwhelmed and quitting, which is actually, that almost happened to me even when I first started and I was spinning my wheels until I started figuring out this process.
Wow. So, I mean, I'm thinking about this as you're saying that obviously this is a lot of work and hard work and dedication, but we try to teach our kids the same fashion through getting a job and making minimum wage and learning the ability to work hard because that's what it's going to be like after college. So you're almost advocating that the amount of time you spend that you would have spent folding sweaters at the mall or working at a fast food place might be better spent educating yourself and going through the scholarship process so you can pay for college like you did and have $126,000. Surely a student over the 4 years that they're going to school would not make $126,000 in the work world. So maybe this is a great alternative, or maybe both. Who knows? What do you think?
That's actually, that's funny that you bring that up. So when I started the process when I came up with this dedication to getting a free ride. It was because a friend's mom told me, if you make this your job, your junior and senior year in high school, you can get paid for 4 years. And that obviously sounded intriguing. I think I calculated what my hourly rate ended up being, and I think it was something like $200 an hour.
That's great.
Or something like it. It was something insane. And I have other students that, I mean, they've put in a few hours on a scholarship and they won $3,000. So, yeah, let's say that they'll make a little bit more than flipping burgers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Obviously, hard work is important, so you can get an understanding of that, but there's hard work that goes into what you're talking about too. So you could have the same sort of result. Okay, so let's dive into a little bit more of your story. Where did you go to school?
I went to the University of South Carolina. They have actually the #1 international business program in the country, and so that's what my original intended path was.
Okay, and you said you grew up in a larger family. Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm one of 5 children.
One of 5 children. So as you guys were growing up and going through your world and trying to figure out what you wanted to do, you were also figuring out how debt could really impact your life as you grow up too. So could you tell us a little bit about your story as you were growing up?
Sure. So my parents had us young. They started very young. I'm the oldest. And so we were kind of the middle of the road level when it comes to income. We weren't super low income where we would just get free rides, or first generation or anything like that, where you get a lot of opportunity that way. But my parents could not strike a check for 5 kids to go to college. So right there, I mean, we knew that the cost of college would be on us, and that was fine. That's understandable. 5 kids is a lot of kids. But as far as debt, unfortunately, my mother, she did have some health issues. And so she had quite a few medical bills. And so we saw just the impact of debt in that aspect. And that was kind of when I decided, I'm going to do everything I can not to ever be in debt. And so it's funny. I really, from the beginning, I said I was not taking out student loans. I was just stubborn. I was so anti-student loans from the beginning. And you kind of briefly touched on this earlier, that some people just assume that that's the only solution, that that's the only way to go to college is to borrow this money, or poor parents. I don't mean financially poor, but I mean, I feel sympathy for parents that feel this responsibility where they have to pay for college for their children, even if it means taking out their savings or their retirement, which in my opinion is just not realistic. With prices of college skyrocketing, it's just not fair to rely on parents fully for that, especially when you're looking at 6 figures per kid per education. And that's assuming that they only get an undergraduate degree. So anyway, the idea that there was an alternative, that was necessary for me, because I was so dead set on not borrowing money.
So it sounds like you were inspired by the ability to be debt free or not really have that burden on your life. Was there any influential person or people that helped you make this decision? You said junior and senior year, you got really amped up about it. Was there an influence in your life that helped you to do that?
I would say, so my friend's mom, when she told me that, she showed me the book of scholarships. It's huge. You could knock someone out with it. But once she told me that she has seen students who turn this into their job, their junior, senior year, and I still worked part-time as well. But she said they got free rides through it. And that's all I needed to hear, was that it was possible. And I think that's actually one of the biggest benefits of the scholarship system is, at the very least, we inspire the students to do this, because a lot of them really don't know that this is an alternative, or they don't believe that they can do it. And that's one of the things that I talk about is, you don't need a perfect GPA. I didn't have one. You don't need an amazing SAT score. Mine was actually, I think today it might be below average. And like I said, my family's income level, we were right in the middle. So despite what many people think, their kid has to be an Einstein or an athlete, or they need to be low income to get money, it's just not the case. And I'm proof of that. So, but yeah, I was really my friend's parent that when she told me this was possible, I just clung on. I grabbed onto that, and I tested out the theory.
That's great. So a nice influence from your friend's mom, your desire to be debt free, and obviously this born entrepreneurial spirit that you have has created this great program. So congratulations on where you are. That's a great story.
Thank you.
So we talked about the typical student or the typical parents that are going through this stress of trying to develop a massive amount of money. I mean, we talked with a financial advisor, I think it was 5 years ago when my daughter Zoe was born. And he told us, hey, by the time Zoe goes to school, it's going to be, I think it was $200,000 total.
Yep.
And this is not some fancy school, Michigan State. I mean, that's where we went. It's a state school, and it'd be in-state tuition. But the thought of having to save up that much money over her lifetime was pretty crazy. The 8% that it grows per year on average, the inflation for college, it just seems so daunting. So to talk about a system like this as well as a plan like this is very inspirational, and having the ability to be debt free when you graduate is got to be completely freeing. What was it like for you when you graduated and you were completely debt free, knowing that you were able to pull in $126,000 through all your hard work at a $200 an hour per hour rate? What did that feel like for you?
I think at first I took it for granted until I started seeing my friends' loan bills kick in. You know how there's the 6-month delay.
Yeah.
So I'd say when I first graduated, the first 6 months, we were all fine. We started our new full-time jobs. We were enjoying the summer. But once I started seeing those loan bills kick in and start seeing them, saying no to certain things, or just saying how they can't even imagine how I bought a place and all these things, that's when I started realizing how fortunate I was. So I just assumed, this is so naive of me, but I just assumed everyone applied for scholarships. I thought that was the thing. And while my junior year in high school, I actually got sucked into scams and all this stuff. It's so crazy, which is one of the things that we help them with, is how to not do that. But so I almost quit. So I do understand where students just become demotivated, and, they feel so beaten by the process. But, in the end, it did work out for me. So when I graduated college, I didn't realize that was a rarity. But once I saw those bills start coming in for my friends, that's when I realized, wow, I am very, very fortunate. And that's when I started, getting my money in order in other ways, because I realized I did have this advantage over most of my generation.
Excellent. So you said you started and got a job out of college, and then you decided to try this entrepreneurial journey about a year ago. Is that right?
Yeah. So I did 2 years in the corporate world, and then I decided to test this out.
Excellent. So how are things going for you so far?
They're great. I love it. I haven't looked back at all. Actually, so this is really exciting, but we tallied up how much money our students got in the 2015-2016 school year, and they got over $600,000.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, which if you include interest, like what they would have paid if they had borrowed it, we saved them almost $800,000. And my goal for the first year was to save families $100,000. So we blew that out of the water. And we're about to tally up this most recent semester. So, as great as growing a business is, ultimately the goal of this company, the vision, is to help families avoid student loan debt, and we're doing that. And so I can't be any happier. We're seeing results, and that's what matters.
That's incredible. And what a perfect thing to do right now. It's just going to continue to be an issue for people as the rates continue to rise, the inflation of college continues to rise. So best of luck with you on your business. So let's talk a little bit more about that business. So if I was a parent, which I am, but my kids are quite young right now, as we get a little closer to the high school time frame, how would this program work for me? I go on and I visit your website, and then where does the process go from there? Can you walk me through how it would all work?
Sure. So we offer a ton of free resources. So going to my website, we have a blog with a bunch of information, but ultimately my favorite thing that I do is a free webinar, and it ranges anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes, depending on how much caffeine I had that day. But I cover really the first 3 steps of the 6 steps of the system. I used to try and cram in 6, but it was just overwhelming. And so that is really, it's completely free. So it is a great starting point for families. And I suggest parents, it's geared towards parents, because ultimately you've got to have, while my parents weren't the ones who came up with the idea, because I was the first kid, my parents were there cheering me on, and having that there help me make it through the system. When I wanted to quit and they told me to keep going, that's a big part of it. So as much as parents may want to be able to just say, go look for scholarships, that's your chance. I know that the students that are having the most success in my system are the ones that have parents. They do scholarship Sundays where the parents will make some snacks. They sit down at the table together on Sundays and they all do it together. And so really, that involvement is huge. So you hit the nail on the head there. What can parents start doing once their kids are getting towards this age? So anyway, but the webinar is geared towards parents, but I do recommend them having their child there with them, because it's my story and it really shows them the opportunities. And we talk about a little bit of those myths that I mentioned earlier, such as needing a 4.0 to get money. And that training it's very helpful. So at the end of the training, I do go into more about my course. So if they wanted to go ahead and get the more involved, more in-depth system, then that's when they could do that. So, but I highly recommend testing out the free webinar, joining me for whenever we do those. And we can put a link for your listeners, and I highly recommend them starting there and seeing if it's something that they think they'd be interested in.
Absolutely. I will. I'll be including that in the show notes of the show for people to check out. So what type of work should these people expect? Obviously, we're talking about this is real hard work. Is it how to write a good essay? What other type of advice are you providing through this system?
Sure. Great question. So the 6 steps, we go all the way from the beginning of establishing a process, setting goals, and figuring out when do you want to apply. And then we talk about the basics of funding. So we don't just jump into scholarships. We explain what type of loans are out there. What is FAFSA? What is EFC? So we go through all these critical definitions that families need to understand. And what's shocking is I've met college graduates that thought they were getting free money for financial aid, and it was actually a loan. So while you think they may understand, you'd be surprised at how many students don't realize what they're even borrowing. So that foundation is where we start. Then we go into finding scholarships. So I have my Google keyword method, which is it's golden. It's incredible. It's unique. It's definitely one of our biggest benefits to families. So it helps students find scholarships they're eligible for while cutting down all of the junk that's out there and helping them sift through that. So we don't just use scholarship search engines. We actually use my method as well. But then, we go into how to write a good essay. We give them tricks on how to reuse materials so that they can save time. And we actually give them also strategies so that they can build up almost like a ready-to-go scholarship database where they just have all these materials in their back pocket so that they can build this replicable system. And therefore, it's almost like a domino effect. It cuts down the time that they have to spend applying, and therefore they're able to knock out a lot more applications. But more importantly, we give them tricks on how to stand out among the crowd. So things that are unique that a lot of students don't think to submit.
Excellent. Could you share some maybe real life example of someone or a family that's gone through this program and had some success? I know you mentioned the massive amount of money that you guys have been able to save families in general. I think you said almost up to $800,000 with the interest involved. Is there any specific examples?
Sure. So I'll just grab one that is so fresh because I just got an email from a father. And actually, he's so incredible. He's going to be writing a blog about it. I didn't even know him. He just reached out to me. But he has a daughter in college. She's a sophomore. And he apparently has been sending her all of my information. And she wasn't even getting back to him about any of it. And then next thing you know, the other day, she told him that she won a $500 scholarship. So apparently she had been implementing it the entire time, just not telling him that she was. So she got $500, and actually their son son, who is, I think he's a junior, he is starting to implement the system as well and already found tons of scholarships that he's eligible for. So that's one of the big things is a lot of kids, they'll start looking for scholarships and they won't be able to find the right ones. And so they just quit there. So just even them finding ones that they want to apply to, that's a big step. So that was just this last week, $500 right there. But and then actually today I heard from a girl who she found 100 scholarships that she was eligible for, and she didn't think that she would fit the need for any of them. So that's a win. We're waiting. March is the big deadline when she's going to start hearing back. So I'm waiting on the results, and I'm really excited about that. And then lastly, one more example, just to show you a spectrum. So we have a $500 person. We have a person that found a bunch and submitted them. But then we have one girl who, by the end of her senior year in high school, she actually ended up with a completely free ride for college.
Wow, that's incredible! Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. It's got to feel good to help people like this. This is a great story. I just have a generic question for you. Who are these scholarships coming from? Could you talk a little bit about where this money comes from, just so people get an understanding of the fact that it's out there and maybe where the root of it comes from?
That's a great question. I was actually just talking to one of my parents yesterday about this, and you would be shocked to hear how many people give scholarships. We actually started our own scholarship for our members, and it's just normal people like you and I. It's not only Coca-Cola, and KFC and Burger King. I mean, those big companies, they absolutely give out money, but everyone and their mom are applying for those. So if your child's super competitive, then I say go for it. But really, where a lot of this money is coming from, they're local law firms, local community foundations, the guidance office, even different departments within their own university that maybe they didn't even think to tap until they went through my system. One was a dermatologist the other day that they found out their local dermatologist offers a scholarship. I mean, it's just everyday people that see this crisis that we're facing, and they are starting their own scholarships. And so, I mean, that said, that just goes to show that sometimes it is hard to find them, but once you know how to find them, the money's out there. So it's a mixture. It's big companies that are offering these major scholarships, but it goes all the way down to the little accountant down the street that's also offering them.
That's great. Excellent. Well, people out there that are doing well with money and want to give back, that's a great position to be in.
Yeah.
So I'm saving for my kids' college funds in a state-sponsored 529. Do you think I am completely wasting my money, or is this a combination of save up for your kids and do the scholarship program? What do you think?
Fantastic question. I love this question. So I do not think it's a waste of your time or money. I think it's, I wish that my parents were able to do that. However, what I would recommend, so with 529 plans, it's great to save. For those who have time to be able to save, that's fantastic. With 529 plans, I'm sure you're already aware, there's a 10% penalty. I believe it's 10% if you withdraw the money for anything besides education expenses, correct?
Yes.
One of the workarounds with that is if they get a free ride. So if your daughter, I believe you said...
Didn't know that. That's great.
I know, don't you love this? No 10% penalty. Wow. Now, I would absolutely look into the fine print.
Yep.
It might vary, but the rule of thumb is if they get a free ride, then that money can be taken out, or it can actually be transferred to your other child.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so I'd say, in my opinion, it's absolutely a combination, like you said. And actually, I do want to say this: there are scholarships out there for kids as young as 4 years old. So
get on it, is what you're saying. Okay.
That's what I'm saying, and it doesn't have to be crazy. But actually, I have a close friend of mine. His kids are, I think, 9. I think one's about to become a teenager. So 13, 9, and 6. And he pays them $5 for every scholarship application that they submit. So he has them doing applications already.
Oh my God.
It's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's with the amount of money that needs to be saved up to go through a decent college. I don't disagree with those methodologies. So that's good. Excellent. So we're about to wrap up, but before we go, I was hoping that we could give a little bit more advice to our listeners. You have a free guide on your website called the only 3 steps you need to write a scholarship-winning essay quickly. I thought maybe at a high level, you could share those 3 steps. And obviously for the people who are looking to write all this down while they're driving, don't do that. I'll have a link in the show notes again. So if you wouldn't mind walking through those steps, that'd be great.
Sure. This writing method, I absolutely love it. I used it not just to write my own scholarship essays, but also I still use it to write some of our blogs. I use it to write pretty much anything that's going to be, that needs to be well thought out. And actually, one of our students told me that this writing method saved her the other day because she was down to crunch time. And she had to get an essay out quickly, but that's what this writing method focuses on. But really, the 3 steps of this writing method, they are to mind map, outline, and write. So what most students do when they start to write an essay is they sit down, they open up Word document, they'll paste the prompt, and then they just stare at a blank screen for like an hour, which is actually what I first started doing before I got this method down. And it's actually funny, this method is taught to students, I would say as early as 3rd grade, but none of us listened to it. And so we just took it and kind of tweaked it for scholarships. So, when students go ahead and sit in front of a Word document and stare at a blank screen, the problem is that you're telling your brain to think linearly. So they're trying to write linearly, which actually it decreases their creative juices. So that's where the mind map comes in. So instead, what we tell students to do is don't touch your computer, get a piece of paper, and mind map as many ideas as possible about the essay prompt on a sheet of paper. Then what you want to do is take those ideas and turn them into an outline. So an organized outline that is, the structure of the essay that they're writing back, that they're responding to. And then and that should only take 10 to 20 minutes each max. So we're maybe 30 minutes time invested at this point. But the best part is once they get that outline written, they have pretty much their entire essay ready to go. Now they just have to fill in the gaps in between to make it flow. And so at that point, that's when they go to the Word document and they go ahead and type up their outline and fill it in and make it actually flow into an essay. But that's the gist on a high level of the 3-step writing method. And I tell you, it's incredible. It gets any student, even if they hate writing essays, to be able to write a well-organized, creative essay.
Excellent. Well, that's another resource that I'll make sure to have in the show notes. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. This is an excellent resource that will definitely help people to save the massive amount of money that it takes to go to college now or in the future. So thanks again, Jocelyn.
Thanks so much for having me.
What an inspiring and motivating story. Hearing about Jocelyn's background, the diligence that she put into earning her scholarships, and now her entrepreneurial drive at such a young age, it was just a great conversation. Coming out of this chat, I personally get a newfound sense of hope that this debt-free college plan could actually happen for my 2 kids. But it's going to be a combined effort, I think. Daddy Andy is going to be enforcing a few different routes for this debt-free success. The first one, as Zoe and Calvin, as they get older, we're going to take advantage of programs like the scholarship system and work together on applying for this money that's just out there. Jocelyn mentioned a family doing scholarship Sundays where the kids fill out scholarships and write essays at the kitchen table while mom and dad load them up with snacks. I love this. Or incentivizing the kids with $5 per scholarship submitted. All of the hard work, doesn't have to be just on mom and dad's shoulders. So that could be number 1. Number 2, we'll continue cranking away on the 529 and building up the college savings. Right now I'm projecting we'll get to maybe half of the overall cost by the time Zoe enters college. So, that'll be a part of, the scholarships as well as the 529. And then number 3, actual work will be a part of our teenagers' lives. Part of the money can go to college, part for fun. But, having a job, this will help them to understand the value of a dollar. And they will continue to work while they're attending college too. We're all in this together, this massive $200,000 that's needed. And then lastly, depending on where we are with our savings and scholarships and, the overall money that's been developed from high school, community college might be a great option for the first couple of years. I remember for the first 2 years of my college, I had no clue what major I was interested in or what career I wanted to pursue. It might make more sense for our kids to figure out those important life details at a much lower tuition rate. So if we keep cranking on the 529, get our kids to work during high school and college, and take advantage of programs like the scholarship system, our kids will be free from student loans, hopefully. If you're interested in taking advantage of Jocelyn's free webinar, please visit marriagekidsandmoney.com/scholarship. That's marriagekidsandmoney.com/scholarship. I'll have that link and the others mentioned in the show at marriagekidsandmoney.com/session22. On the same link, please leave me a comment and tell me about any experience you've had with scholarships for yourself or your kids and how that's impacted your life. I'm very interested in this topic. If you are enjoying this show, please go to iTunes and leave me a review. I've gotten some excellent reviews over the past few months. Thank you so much. The positive feedback helps people find the show more easily, and it brings a big old smile to my face. So, gracias. In the spirit of growth and inspiration, I'm going to end the show with a quote today from Benjamin Franklin. Diligence is the mother of good luck. Make it a great day, everyone. Carpe diem.